My dad is a hard-working man. He runs a used car dealership. He's part owner of a fancy steakhouse and a soft-serve ice cream parlor. He does fundraisers for the Rotary, 4-H, Little League, and the Boy Scouts. He takes care of Grandpa, who can't walk and ain't right in the head. And when Dad gets done with all of that, he has to come home and take care of my 2 younger brothers and me. My dad is so busy that when the devil walks into his office, he doesn't even bat an eye. He doesn't get off the phone with the manager over at the Tasty Freeze. He just pulls out a chair and offers the devil a hot coffee. It's gotta be hot, because otherwise the devil will try to heat it up himself and leave scorch marks on the ceiling. The devil takes his coffee black and shoots it like whiskey. And then Daddy takes out some weird-looking paper, a pen dipped in something dark red, and the black envelope. I don't know what happens next, because Daddy, he always closes the door right after that. When the devil finally leaves, Daddy sprays some Old Spice cologne around the office to get rid of that terrible brimstone smell before his next meeting. My name is Chris, and I'm 13 years old. I live with my daddy, mama, grandpa, and 2 little brothers here in Alabama, in the old US of A. We live out of town a ways in a big old house that mama calls Antebellum. There's lots of stuff to do when my friends come over. We got creeks to swim and catch crawdads in, a big stone fireplace, and dirt 4-wheeler tracks all up and down our land. There's no cell phone service and barely any internet, but if the weather's bad, we got rooms and rooms of weird old stuff to explore. Life's been good to us. That's what Grandpa says. Depending on how he feels, sometimes he goes on. Oh yes sir, he is good as gold. Other folk got so many worries. Their dog might get run over, might lose their job, their kid might get sick. Oh, but not us. The odds are on our side, boy, and don't you forget it. And then Grandpa usually spits and the tobacco juice dribbles down his chin and I have to wipe it off. As long as you honor your word, boy, anything you want is yours. But if you should ever break it. When Grandpa drifts off like that and starts shaking, we gotta wrap him up in blankets and roll him back inside. Once he gets warm, he usually falls asleep pretty quickly. But I recently found out that sometimes Grandpa stays up longer than usual. A few nights back, I heard a noise from Grandpa's room up on the 3rd floor. It was a full moon, so I didn't need any light to tiptoe upstairs and to check on the old man. When I peeked around the corner, I saw Grandpa sitting by himself in the moonlight, surrounded by all those big books from back when he was a lawyer. He was looking at his hands, and I think he was crying. I sold 'em, same as Pawpaw sold me, my own flesh and blood. He kept saying the same thing over and over. There's no forgiveness, none at all. And Grandpa kept on like that until he finally rocked himself to sleep. Usually we just carry him to his big 4-poster bed when he does that. But that night I just crept back downstairs thinking. Sleeping has been weird since I turned 13. Sometimes I wake up all sore, like I spent all night running laps around the football field. And sometimes I get these long scratches or black gunk under my fingernails. Seeing Grandpa freaking out at night like that and not remembering what happened in the morning, it got me worried. So I set up my webcam to find out just what it is that I do at night. I had to skip through a whole lot of boring nothing, but I found something alright. It happened a few nights after the devil and Daddy had their monthly meeting. That night, I went to bed around 11:30. By 12, I was back on my feet getting dressed. I walked out of the room like a zombie, and I stayed gone until about 4 in the morning, when I came back filthy with dirt and blood. I took off my clothes, hid them in the laundry, wiped myself off, and fell over into bed. I don't remember any of it, but I do remember what was trending online the next day. This preacher from our town, the one who was always in the news about fighting corruption and helping out the poor, got himself disappeared. The reporter lady said that they suspected foul play, which I guess means that the guy was murdered. Heck of a coincidence, if it was a coincidence. Now I had to know what was in Daddy's black envelopes. Problem was, I had no idea when the devil was gonna drop by Daddy's office. There were a couple signs that I could watch out for though. Daddy's car lot is usually full of people. When it empties out real quick, that's one sign. When the wind picks up out of nowhere and dark clouds blow in, well, that's another. But the biggest one is honking car horns. The devil drives a brand new black BMW with tinted windows, and he drives it one of two ways. Fast as hell with no turn signal, or 13 miles below the speed limit in the fast lane. He parks diagonal across the 2 handicap spots in front of Daddy's office, and he lets the door slam on his way in. Daddy's secretary knows that she better be sitting down when the devil visits, or she'll get smacked on the booty when she walks by. I wonder if other folks, like Daddy's secretary, see the devil how we do. Maybe to them he just looks like an ordinary guy. No horns or red skin or hooves or anything. We all know that only the grown men of the family, like Daddy or Grandpa, are allowed to talk to the devil. My little brother Kyle said "hey" to him once, back when he was too young to know any better, and his mouth got stuck shut for the rest of the day. It made me wonder what the consequences of spying on the devil might be. Even so, I wasn't about to let the mystery go unsolved. I hung around the car lot all summer long, looking for a way to listen in on Daddy's meeting. Daddy's office is basically just a room in a trailer with a big old wooden desk and some filing cabinets, so there was nowhere to hide, and I couldn't see anything peeking through the AC vent. Turns out though that I had the solution right in front of me all along. And Daddy never liked technology much, but he had to use a PC for work, and his desk was always covered with old cables, scanners, and printers, credit card readers, and other electronic junk. I figured he wouldn't notice my little webcam inside of all the mess. The question was, would the devil? I guess the devil is as busy as Daddy, because he didn't even look at my little setup besides Daddy's computer when he had walked in to do business. Soon as I saw the devil pulling up, I hoofed it to the back of the car lot, where I watched the stream on my phone. This is what I saw on the funny-looking paper. I, patriarch of the family, hereby consign the use of my firstborn until the next full moon, per our long-standing agreement. It wasn't hard to figure out that the contractor, whatever it was talking about me, and Daddy had just signed it like it was a check at a restaurant. So that was it. My family hadn't gotten so far in life by being talented or hardworking. No, we had done it by getting used like puppets. I wanted to puke. I felt even more sick when Daddy stood up to get the envelopes and knocked the camera wonky so it was aimed at the devil. The devil smirked and silently shook his finger at me. He knew, and I guess he reckoned it didn't matter what I saw, because there was nothing that I could do about it. But I was gonna prove him wrong, no matter what it took. Daddy says that folks who can do and folks who can't teach. If the folks who work in my school were so smart, he reckons, they would have started businesses like him. But when I found out that I had to break a deal with the devil, the first words that popped into my head were from my school librarian. The whole world is at your fingertips, if you know where to look. That's why I snuck out of the house on Sunday morning. It was easy enough with my folks asleep and everything covered in fog. I figured the first place that I would look was the local Baptist church. It's just an old warehouse painted white with a cross on top of it, but Father Ted knows his Bible cover to cover. It was chilly when I left home, but I was covered in sweat and red dust by the time that I pulled up to the after-church barbecue on my four-wheeler. There's no way hell is any hotter than Alabama in the summertime. It's probably less humid too. I wanted to get Father Ted alone, but the big man with the flat-top haircut and thick glasses had more grannies than flies around him. In the end, I had to ambush him on his way back from the toilet. I may be only 13, but I'm not dumb enough to walk up to an adult and say, "Hey, my daddy lets the devil possess me once a month in exchange for good luck. What should I do?" I just couldn't get a straight answer out of the guy. When I told him that I thought my daddy was messing around with black magic, he said that I needed to honor my father and mother and pray about my overactive imagination. Yeah, real helpful. The local library wasn't much better, but it did have air conditioning at least. Those thick religious books with their fancy leather covers and $10 words all contradicted each other. The stuff in the Wiccan books was totally different than the Jewish ones, and folks back home would get suspicious if I suddenly started burning herbs in my room or stopped eating bacon. It was tough enough already, pretending that everything was normal when I went to bed every night, wondering what horrible thing I might do in my sleep. The one thing that I found that did turn out to be useful was an online PDF, something called The Lesser Key of Solomon. It gave me the idea that Daddy's devil wasn't the only devil. He might not even be a very important one. It also made me think about names. If I could get the name of our family devil, that might help, I figured. But come Thursday night, everything changed. It was late, and I reckon when I stepped out of the shower, I was the only soul awake in the whole county. While I was drying off, though, I got this weird feeling like I wasn't alone. I opened my eyes and I looked in the foggy mirror, and I saw the reflection of a huge, hairy something behind me. I tried to scream out, but my lips were sealed shut. I tried to run, but I was stuck like a fly on tape. My towel dropped down around my ankles. There ain't nothing more human than the fear you feel when you're naked and trapped with something 3 times your size. Like it wanted to rub in just how real it was. The thing reached out with a black clawed finger the size of my arm and wrote on the bathroom mirror, "You've been naughty, Chris. Poking around where you shouldn't. We are going to meet, formally, to discuss your future. The Barrel, 7:06 tomorrow evening. Be there or I'll come find you here, and I won't be so nice. I can do anything to you, Chris. Anything at all. Don't forget it." The shadowy thing wiped its words away with a hand the size of a couch cushion and walked back into the tile wall. I fell down onto my knees and I puked. The Barrel is a big restaurant off the highway, all done up with rocking chairs and antiques. It's usually packed, but when I walked in the door at 7:01, it was almost empty. Most of the lights were off too, but folks didn't seem to notice or care at all. The waiters at the Barrel are usually as quick as lightning and can balance about 6 plates of pancakes with one hand. But that night, they were staggering around like they had had a few too many. The devil was drumming his fingers impatiently on a paper menu. "Sit." I did as I was told. The waitress came by to take our order. Her big smile only lasted until the devil started talking. He ordered 6 of the most complicated things on the menu, with several changes, conditions, and specific instructions. "And the kid'll have a Diet Coke." The devil finished and snapped his fingers a few times. When the devil speaks, I hear his voice boom and growl like fiery rocks crashing together. I don't know what he sounded like to the waitress, but she looked just as scared knowing that she somehow had to rustle up a medium rare baked salmon steak with caramelized diced turnips instead of onions and a sauce with no salt. Turns out the devil and daddy mean the same thing when they say discuss. They talk and you listen. The devil sure likes the sound of his own voice. He started out by saying how I was remarkably intelligent for a southerner, and then went on and on about the tragic fate of mortals, and wasn't I lucky to avoid it. Using my body was only temporary, and soon enough I would be able to pass the burden but keep the benefits. After all, isn't that what you people want more than anything? Someone else does all the work while you reap all the reward. The devil said a lot of other things too. Personal stuff. He mentioned the boys who bullied me and how nice it would be if they got what was coming to them. He knew the names of all the girls I liked, and hinted at what I might do with them if I kept up my end of the deal. The devil only stopped talking to chain smoke cigarettes and send his food back 3 times. Finally, he rubbed out his last butt on the no smoking sign that he was using as an ashtray, and then leaned back in his chair. "I'm sure you'll do the right thing in the end. Think about your mommy and daddy. Think about your little brothers. You wouldn't want anything bad to happen to them, would you, Chris?" There was a smell like rotten eggs, and a pile of red-hot pennies appeared on the table. The devil stood up. "Of course." The devil smacked himself in the forehead. "The tip." One more penny appeared. It plopped into my undrunk Diet Coke, which the devil flipped upside down with a coaster so that it would spill if moved. Our discussion was over. A summer storm blew in and soaked me on the long walk home. I felt hopeless. It was like one of those word problems for math class, the kind where you don't even know where to begin to look for the answer. If I couldn't beat him, I might as well join him, just like the devil said, right? The lightning lit up the muddy gravel driveway leading to our 3-story house. A yellow glow came from one lonely 3rd-story window, and I knew what that meant. Grandpa had fallen asleep with the lamp on again. Great. Now I had to choose between 2 extra flights of stairs or getting yelled at about the electrical bill in the morning. Suddenly, I thought of the big books stacked to the ceiling in Grandpa's study. There was a place that I hadn't looked. I hurried upstairs as quietly as I could. Sure enough, the old man was snoring in his wheelchair. He didn't notice me climb the wooden ladder and start checking titles in the cobwebs. My fingers stopped at a row of thin, nameless folders that I had never noticed before. I slid one out and blew off dust. Genealogy, it said. A family history. I flipped through yellow pages of cousins, great uncles, Civil War veterans, traitors to the crown, and others, until I found what I was looking for, a missing, ripped out page. If I could find that page, I might be able to find out which of my ancestors made the original deal with our devil. And if I got that far, I might be able to figure out how to break it too. I was so excited about my discovery that I didn't notice that Grandpa's snoring had stopped. The ladder shook. I spun around and saw Grandpa, who hadn't walked in years, standing far below me. He stared up with blind, white eyes. "You were warned," Grandpa snarled. And then he shoved the ladder and everything went black. Blood is thicker than water. Curiosity killed the cat. A bird in the hand. And Daddy raised us on sayings like that. But when you're laying alone in a hospital bed at night, surrounded by beeping machines, they don't seem none too reassuring. In fact, ever since I found out that my family's good luck came from a deal with the devil, I've been questioning everything that I used to believe. I smacked my head real good right after I had found a missing page from my family tree, and something wicked made my own grandpa knock me down from my ladder. Apart from that, I had a twisted ankle, a broken arm, and everything else was sore as hell. The doctors told me that I was lucky that my back wasn't broken. I'm starting to hate that word. Lucky. Folks don't know what lucky costs. Mama came by with my brothers and a steaming Tupperware full of beef and brown gravy, mashed potatoes, and collard greens. I passed out again right after I ate. And when I opened my eyes, it was nighttime and I was alone. Well, almost. Just like before in the bathroom back at home, I didn't see it. I felt it. A huge, hairy black shape behind the medical curtain where the light couldn't reach. The room got so cold that I breathed white clouds and shivered in my paper-thin gown. Where were the nurses at? Where was anybody at? I rustled around for a help button or anything, but I stopped moving when I saw what was on the silent TV screen. The subtitled local news reporter up there had been like my guardian angel ever since I had woken up. It was comforting to watch her talking about whatever she was talking about, like all was right in the world. With her light brown hair and button nose, she wasn't bad to look at either. But her eyes suddenly glazed over, and she raised one long polished fingernail and used it to cut into her forehead. "Look," the bleeding letters read. She stood up on her chair, opened her blouse, and used that bloody fingernail to carve an arrow in her chest. It pointed down to these subtitles below. "This woman is Emily Fancher. She investigates crimes in schools and toxic ingredients in foods. She snoops around just like you. She is bad for business. Tonight, you are going to kill her." On the screen, Emily Fancher's eyes rolled back into her head, and something foamy dribbled out of her mouth. She lifted her hands in the air like she was worshipping something while she bled, and the subtitles rolled on. "You will get up from your hospital bed. You will go to her home on a hill a few miles from here. You will walk through the woods. You will feel all the pain from your damaged limbs, but you will not be able to stop. You will cut her brake lines. You will come back to the hospital. Your dreams will be full of agony. When you wake, she will be dead. You will remember everything you did. This is your punishment, Chris. Your first punishment. Do not defy me again." Emily was yanking her hair out of her scalp and bashing her face into the news desk. I could see white bone behind the mess where her face used to be. And then static pulsed across the screen and the regular program was back. Emily Fancher reporting on how the district was sending kids to the worst schools on purpose. The awful shape behind the curtain was gone. I cried, and I'm man enough to admit it. But when the tears stopped, I cleaned myself up and got to thinking, couldn't I change my fate? If I didn't fall asleep, maybe the devil couldn't take me over. But I had been pumped full of pills specifically to make me sleep. I thought about how Daddy always had a cup of coffee in his hand, rummaging in the sheets. I finally found the big red button that could kick off my plan. "Everything all right in here?" the tired-looking nurse had asked. "Yeah, could you bring me a cup of coffee?" I did my best to make my eyes look big and pathetic, but the nurse wasn't impressed. He had seen it all before. "I can't offer caffeine after hours, buddy. Sorry." "Please?" I begged. I held my hands out and turned my wrist so the nurse could see the last name on my wristband. "My daddy's gonna come by and I want to be awake to see him. If not, he's gonna get really mad." I had seen the "I don't get paid enough for this" look in the man's eyes before among a lot of Daddy's employees. He sighed, checked my medical chart, and in a few minutes, he came back with a styrofoam cup of coffee. Can you just leave the entire pot?" I asked. 5 cups in, my fingers twitched while I dialed the local news station on my cell phone. The operator wanted to know if I wanted to report an accident or a weather event. I asked to speak with Emily Fancher. Emily just got off the air. She's headed home now and, our anchors don't take calls. Sorry about that. And, how old are you?" She was blocking me, so I decided to play my last card. I held the phone close to the beeping machines and gave my voice a little tremble. I'm only 13. I'm in the hospital. They won't tell me how long I've got, but I remembered something about that preacher a while back. I think I know what happened to him, but I only want to talk to Emily. She's the only one that I trust. You see, I watch her on TV while I lay here in the hospital and... Hold, please. 5 minutes later, Emily Fancher was on her way. When I asked how she was going to get in after visiting hours, she told me that she had helped one of the overnight laundry workers win an unemployment case at her old job, and that they would let her in through the back. I was impressed. My bed was practically vertical. The AC was on full blast, and I was slapping myself in the face when Emily had walked in the door. She was twice as fine in real life, but it was hard not to see those horrible images on the TV when I looked at her. I kept my eyes on the floor and chugged my 8th cup of coffee. I told Emily that I knew what happened to the missing preacher and who was involved. For just one little favor, I would tell her everything. Do you have any idea how many laws you're asking me to break here? You seriously expect me to sneak a minor out of a hospital without release papers? Well, I mean, not just that. I also need you to trespass onto private property and help me dig up a body. I gave her a big, heartwarming smile. Emily's car was a mess. For a woman with an iron pantsuit, a stiff ponytail, and a slim figure, she sure had a lot of fast food wrappers all over the floor. The little pine tree air freshener didn't do much against the dusty, greasy smell. You don't believe me, do you? I asked Emily as she helped me into the passenger seat and folded up my wheelchair. No, I don't, Emily sighed. But I think there's an even better story hiding under what you're telling me. A kid doesn't make the kind of very specific request you've made tonight, unless there's something going on behind it. And honey, just so that you know, I've got the police on speed dial. I suddenly imagined what might happen if I nodded off. The devil could use me to grab Emily's steering wheel and run us off the road. I shuddered. If I got taken over, I wasn't sure the police would do us much good. So far, I had been able to keep myself awake, but I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep it up. You're just a kid. I must be out of my mind, Emily said to no one in particular. The roads were empty at this time of night, but that didn't stop her from checking in the rear view every 5 seconds. The place we're going to is on my family's land. If something happens, you can just say that I asked you for a ride home, all right? Yeah, right. Emily rolled her eyes. A few minutes later, we were parking at a gravel pull-off. I knew there was a 4-wheeler track from here that led right to our family's private cemetery. But to Emily, it must have looked like we were stopping in the woods after midnight in the middle of nowhere. She took a pistol out of the glove box and slipped it into her pocket when we got out of the car. I didn't figure that would do us much good either. I sat holding a clunky flashlight from Emily's car while she pushed my wheelchair along the trail. I knew these woods like the back of my hand, but in the big white beam everything felt wrong. It made the trees look like Halloween skeletons, and every time the wind blew, I expected something horrible to come charging out of the tall grass. My family's cemetery is in a red dirt clearing beside a scummy green little pond. There is a stone wall around it, a rundown wooden shack full of rusty tools, and about 30 tombstones. It's an ugly, lonely place, but Daddy says the dead don't mind. The gate opened with an awful loud squeak and I sliced open my hand, trying to pull myself through it in my wheelchair. I was more worn out than I had ever been, which meant that me and Emily's time too was running out, if I fell asleep. The graves were in order more or less, and I knew the missing time frame was from between 1790 and 1840. That narrowed it down, but what really stood out was the quality of the graves. At one point, they went from being toothy gray stones to fancy marble statues 10 feet high. I reckoned the first big fancy grave was when my family made our fortune and our awful deal. The angel statue on my great-great-great-granddaddy William's tomb was so worn down that it seemed to be crying. William had died in 1837 and had the first of the fancy gravestones. I hoped that I was right, because I only had one shot at this. "Dig here," I told Emily. It probably takes days to dig a real grave, but Emily and I got lucky. The pond had flooded a lot over the years, and it must have moved the caskets around, because we hit wood only about 3 feet down. On the first hit, Emily's shovel split a hole in William's rotten coffin. It was a sticky Alabama night, but I shivered anyway as the flashlight shone on my ancestor's corpse. "Is this what you wanted, kid?" Emily grunted. She was sweating, exhausted, and probably regretting everything. "No," I leaned forward and pointed to a square metal box in William's bony hands. "That is." Inside the box was a cracked leather folder. Inside the folder was something that looked like the weird, yellowish paper that Daddy had used to sign me over to the devil. When I touched it, the stuff felt like skin. I could barely read the cursive writing, but the contract was in one piece and signed at the bottom, by both parties. "Renove," I read out loud. I heard a slow clap coming from behind the shed. Up walked our devil. "Where did this guy come from?" Emily jumped and reached for her pistol. "So you found the contract. Good for you. Pray tell, what do you plan to do now, Chris?" Renove was making fun of me. Truth was, I had no idea. The devil just stood there waiting. I had to sleep eventually, but he had all the time in the world. My eyes darted around on the page. As I ran my finger over the thing, my cut up and dirty hand smeared it. Renove flinched. I moved my finger to William's signature. I squeezed my cut until it bled. And while I did, I kept my eyes on the devil. He wasn't like this at all. "What are you doing, Chris?" Renove asked sweetly. "Making a deal with the devil," I replied. Before anybody could stop me, I used my finger to roughly sign Chris in blood over top of old William's name. Renove froze. "Your deal is with me now." I stuck the paper in the devil's face. "And you can keep your luck. I won't be passing you the names of any of my family members in little black envelopes." When the devil didn't have any smart comments to make, I knew that I had won. Renove glared. "You'll change your mind one day, boy, and when you do, I'll be there," the devil hissed. He snapped his fingers under my nose and walked away into the night. When he did, I think even Emily heard the stomping of his hooves. "So," Emily cleared her throat, you want to tell me what just happened?" "It's a long story," I told her, right before I fell into a peaceful and dreamless sleep.